today, and I'm gonna have to hit Google too. So y'all gonna love the Googling. Because I get in just before you guys do. Like I literally walked in the room probably 5 minutes before you guys did. All right. So Spring Initializer, same as always. There's nothing special. I'm gonna say something that you're gonna probably hate, but I tried it many times this past week, and it worked pretty well. So we're gonna just show you what I did. So edu.roosevelt.imroot, and this is gonna be October 12th, right? And the thing I'm gonna do is just go when I edit dependencies, I'm gonna add the MySQL thing because it does work. So I want Spring Web. Make sure you have Spring Web. None of this works. No controllers will work without Spring Web. Then you want to add JPA. Then you want to add MySQL and just the driver, not the JDBC stuff. Right? Yay! Now today is all about validation. So what do we need? Validation. So we're going to put in the theme validation, hibernate validation. And then we're going to generate it, just like we have all these times. And oh yeah, my computer, when it downloads a zip, I need to undo this feature, but it opens up the zip, automatically opens the zip every time.
So you get a virus.
It just annoys me so much. But I'm also not annoyed so much that I would go and actually fix it. Right? I mean, like, that's the thing, right? Like, okay, so it annoys you, but did you actually do anything about it? No.
Until you get a zip file.
Right? I mean, I could totally fix it, but I have not because I just don't care. Okay. All right, so we are going to need Google the validation thing so you can see them, and I'll make that link available. I just didn't download it already. I probably don't actually need to download Google it. By the way, I actually have. I just my eyes are really shitty today, or that, or everything seems really small. Yep, here's your validation constraints, and we'll talk about them. That isn't the right, I don't know if that's the right set. But anyway, the point is we'll share the link like we have in the past. That isn't the one I want though. That is what we want, but it's not the one. Oh, that's HTML validation constraints. All right, I don't want spring, I want fall. Okay, I can barely read this. Do I not have it? I may not have it.
Java bean validation basics.
Wait, there's a spring. Wait, what?
There's that one, there's a validation right there.
Yes. That'll work. Validating using JSON or whatever, that works. So you need to have the validation. And then we use annotations. Yeah, that's all we're going to do. Okay. But before, and this is the list I need. So this works out pretty well. It's PHP dead. Go away. Validation, we're going to make sure fields are what they are supposed to be. So let's do it to it. All right. So the first thing we need to do is open the most recent, and I think it's October 5th, and this new folder. Because all we're going to do is copy it. Sorry. We're going to start off from the previous one. But if I change it, then if I forgot to upload it, I don't know if I did or not. If I forgot to upload it, then I won't have it to upload. So, oh yeah, I closed all the projects. Is that great? It's your homework, people. Because I am the best.
I was shocked at my grade.
I'm going to talk about it right now. Unless you want to talk about it, because then I'll get in trouble for talking about it. Then I'll be annoyed that I got in trouble. I'll shove you down Schitt's Creek with just a paddle, no canoe. You see, I won't leave you without a paddle, but I just won't give you the canoe. Y'all heard that joke before, right? Up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. My take on it is, you get everything but the paddle. You get everything but the boat. No boat for you. No boat for you. 5 years. All right, so I need to create a package, and I'm just going to create a student package in there. And then I'm going to take all the stuff from, I can't even, I'm really having, it's embarrassing. I can barely read it. I should have brought glasses today. And I'm going to refactor copy and paste. At a minimum, it's taking the, oh no, that's not what I wanted. Shit, that's not going to work. All right, hold on. New package. I erased the whole thing instead of putting it in there. All right, so this is just kind of a stupid mistake, but if it's not in the same package, it won't be able to find it. It's going to be in a sub package. You can't do what I just did. I'm going to save myself some time and just do it again. Ta-da. So nice, I did it twice. And get rid of this. Bye-bye. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete it. We don't need the initdb stuff. We have all the exception handlers. So the only other thing we have to copy, if we did this right, sorry, small. There we go. I'm sorry, this is taking so long. This part is taking forever. All right, before we actually do anything, we're gonna actually run it raw without actually doing any validation. I want to point out some things that may not have been obvious in the past. So we want to make sure we do that before we do that. And I want to start Postman, who's got a freaking update. So it's going to go, do you want to update? So of course it's going to take a minute to start. There's a full list of annotation for validation, and that's not it, but that's a good starting point. So let's run this party tonight. I should be sitting where you guys are and then looking at the screen back behind me. Right?
Yeah.
All right. It is not. Oh, I see why. You can see it's got a yellow thing. I need to build it with dependencies. So it builds it with the dependencies that actually downloads the dependencies. That's what Maven actually does. Maven's primary job is just to make sure the dependencies are easy to do. You don't have to download jar files and then put them in your project and make sure they're in the right folder. That just does it for you automatically. Also, when you go to create like a jar file or like a finished product, like, like you're finished and you're going to create a finished product, it'll do all the things necessary for you to run it. So it's very useful. I don't think I selected run, but it looks like, nope. Yep, I was just testing it. All right, now we should be able to run it. Still says I can't run it. Why are you saying oh, there it goes. Why does it have low system? Oh, because I have a bunch of things open. It's not helpful. All right, so we're gonna run it, and then I want to show you why it's not necessarily the best thing to not have validation. This is why we need server-side validation. Obviously, you know that you can use Postman instead of an actual web browser to do any work, right? In fact, Postman will continue to work even when we have sessions and those type of things. So you can still use a not browser to do all the work, right? Thus avoiding any client-side validation completely, right? Right. This opens you up to a lot of problems, right? But we can do validation, which solves a lot of these ills. So first things first, we're just gonna get, we should be working. So we're gonna go ahead and send a send request and oh, that returns a number of students apparently. I had the wrong get. Yeah, this is bad. I can't see. All right, and so here are my students. We have Omar, Miley, Riley, G. Jesus, Noah, and Jesus again. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a student, but we're going to do it poorly. So this is the previous student named Micah Ruth. What if I just took it all off? Right? What happens? It works. So when it goes to convert the numbers, it automatically converts the numbers to 0. Right? The names are null because it doesn't get anything from it. You're like, wait, that shouldn't work. In your mind, it's like, that shouldn't work. That shouldn't be possible. What if you have a field like right? Field called good. Now that what's called is found, it ignores anything it doesn't know about. So it's only looking for a name. What's called? What if you have like a name spelled incorrectly, like all uppercase or something? We'll go tackle. Right? This is improper. This is different. This is improper. What you call it? You get a bad request. The JSON parse error is what actually happens because essentially it's a bad request. And this is not valid JSON, so it can't compile it. But that is freaking useful, right? So we want those errors to come back. Now I don't think I can make that bigger. Can you see it okay? Or
Yeah.
it's pretty small. All right, so name is Jackhole, and that works fine, right? Actually, it doesn't work fine. Let's do SID 1. Oops, I need a comma there. Do SID 1, so at least I have a new SID. It says parse error, unexpected character code was expecting double quotes to start field name, nested. Oh, yeah. So it was expecting the field quotes. All right, there we go. So now you have an SID of 1 and name is null. You're like, wait, name is there. It's uppercase, right?
Is that picky?
It's that picky, right? So we have to look, we want to make sure we're sending the right things, but also when we have a problem, I want to report. I'm expecting an SID, a name, major, and a GPA. I'm expecting that. Also, you might not have guessed, I've been sending 1, 0, and so forth. SID should be 5-digit numbers, right? What about sending something like work hard, right? That's not a number. We get a JSON parse error. We get a parse error when we have that because it's not supposed to be a number, not a number, right? That's pretty normal. Okay. So that's like, but we want to be able to look at these errors and actually make sense of them, right? So we want the whoever's sending this to get something back that's useful, number 1. But number 2, if we expect a name, SID, major, and what's called, we better get them, right? So we do that via validation. And this is part of that. I'm just gonna go, sorry, I need to hibernate. Everybody's trying to sell you a new phone, right? No. Nope. Nope. Spring getting started guide is the one I want. That guide we had open a few days ago actually has all the information in there as well. Yay. So you don't have the list, do you? Oh, come on. That's the 90% of what I need is the list. I don't really care about how to do it. All right. Pretty simple, but I can't find it. So we'll use the example thing we found earlier. It's just you're not gonna like it. Okay. All right. Also, I want to remind you guys that if you don't enter a number, it comes out as 0. If you don't enter a string, it comes out as null. Why is that important? Because when we go to validate with SID, if we say the minimum number is 0, then it cannot be there. Does that make sense? If you say the minimum number is 0, if the number isn't there when it kicks in, it actually converts it to 0, so that's okay. So just be aware of that. That's the point. Okay. In our case, for your homework too, the GPA can be 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your number cannot be, right? Your student ID, I think we made it so that it was a 5-digit number. Does that sound right? Actually, whatever. We can verify it right here. This one happens to be a 5-digit number. So we can do min and max, right? We can easily do min and max. We're going to actually as well. So, right? We can specify the min. It's 10,000. Max is 10,000. You go, wait a second. Oh, did I spell it wrong? Sure did. I hate things. I hate my life. There we go. That should be happy. And then there's one thing else we need to do. You know what? You ever feel like some days you're working too hard? You know what I can do pretty quickly?
Every day.
Huh?
Every day I have homework.
Every day you have homework. You're working too hard, man. I got some bad news for you. Good for you.
I have a question about that.
That's how you learn stuff.
The ID.
Sure.
So the ID makes it a primary key, correct?
Sure.
And primary keys have to be distinct. They can't be duplicates of IDs in a database.
Right.
So if it's like no, or you enter a wrong thing and it spits it out as 0 because it's the minimum, would it bug out because there's multiple zeros as a
It would only
primary?
let you put in one.
Okay.
It would work though. See, watch this. I taught this class before. I can't find the link, but guess what?
Should open those for us.
I knew it was there. Well, no, I'm creating new ones for you guys.
I would use those ones up.
You guys, I'm creating new ones. Watch it be the same one. No, here it is. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. This goes in through all of them. But anyway. So no, there's one other thing I need to do. I need to specify the entity as something in order for the validation to work. I need to specify it's an entity. And so that's what we're gonna need to do real quick. But I need this guy to move. I need this guy to close. And I downloaded it to the desktop, I thought. No, today's October 12th. So I guess I downloaded it to. Yeah, I hate how small everything is. Good news is I might be getting a new monitor today, depending on what I got going on.
4K curve.
Nah, just bigger. It's old, actually. It's a couple years, maybe 4 years old. But the cybersecurity department, cybersecurity lab has extra monitors. I'm going to ask Mong if I can have one. If Mong says yes, I have a new monitor.
Can I ask him too?
No, not like at home, at work.
Yeah, I use it for school.
I doubt seriously. Sorry, bud. All right. So yeah, Nope, I didn't have, you don't have to do anything. You just have to, wait. Nope. Yep, nope. I just did more controllers on 1013. I didn't actually, you can see it. I didn't do the validation on 1013. Sucks to be me. Picked the wrong day. Oh, yeah, because it's just JPA. Oh,
Are we ahead?
no. We're actually right on time. The good news is the validation stuff is actually goes super quickly. The bad news is there it is. Okay. The bad news is it requires a bunch of like annotations in certain places. It's like 3 lines of thing. Like ultimately it's 3 lines, right? Like ultimately it takes 3 lines. Yeah, and this is the annotations you can use. I already showed you this list. Min, you click on it and then you can look and see what it looks like. Right? It takes a number. But like I said, I actually provided code here somewhere. I just downloaded it. So get straight, it'll take 2 seconds. We are actually on time. We're not really. Are you serious? You gotta be kidding me. Oh, there we go. Just unzip. I'll just get it there. What difference does it make? It's one thing I forgot, and I didn't get here early enough to remember to do it. You're gonna laugh when you see it, but all you have to do is specify valid somewhere. And then it validates it. Otherwise, it ignores it. So if you want validation on one area, on one endpoint and not on another, you can do that as well. It's pretty awesome that you can do that. But
What would be like the case that you would want to do that, to only validate one and not the other?
if you wanted to put, or no, not a put, if you wanted a change, a modification one, you probably don't want a whole valid one because that way,
Okay.
you know. All right, I don't know how to get to. You gotta be sure. All right, son bitch. All right. It doesn't want to open it out of download, so let's just quickly do it again. These are fortunately pretty small. When we get to Angular, none of that is small. I will not be recreating everything every day. I will be zipping up the same one that I created and keep going because it's just too big. They're 100 megabyte things. Come on. All right. So what am I forgetting here? I got the min and the max. That's fine. Sorry. Nope, min and max are fine. I can specify it has to be positive. I can specify it's in digits, that it's not a fraction. And we'll do all those things. Why not? Because it is supposed to be an ID. You guys are going to have a little bit slighter, different problem with your IDs because your IDs are supposed to be strings, right? So you have to use a regular expression type of thing. I'll show you how to do that later. We'll do it later. But so string name, things like name, you just specify. Not null. You nothing fancy. It's just not null. That's what we do for all the strings. Why is it not liking it? Oh no, it's fine. I'm gonna add the import.
Do we have to do this stuff for homework 2 or no?
Homework 2 no. Homework 3 that you're about to get. Yes. All right, so now it's gonna be positive. So if you try to send in a negative number, you're gonna have a validation problem. If it try to send a number less than 10,000, it's gonna have validation problem. Send a number greater than 9, whatever, validation problem. Send it other than anything other than digits, validation problem.
What was like that 0 for the fraction mean? Like say if you put a 1 for the fraction, it's just a boolean pretty much? Or
You can have 1 digit after the, so like 4.3.
Oh, okay, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's just telling you how big it can be. And that is what we did with the employees. You see not blank. You can also specify, and we're going to see this as well. You can specify a message. Some people do this. I don't care, but not null and not blank are essentially the same thing. But with a string, it means it can't be an empty string. So we typically use not blank rather than not null.
You can put a message for every single one.
You can put a message for every single one, and that message is actually sent along. We'll see how to get it later. Name cannot be. Now I have to be tricky now with the major because we have to have a way of specifying a regular expression just so that you can get your homework done. So now I want to do the same thing. It's going to be positive. We're going to have a max. We're going to have a min, although it's double. Right? But the max is now going to be 4. Oops. 4. Oops, excuse me. Min should be 0. Do I need this if it's positive? No, I don't. It's actually extraneous. So digits, how many digits can you have? 1. How many fractions can you have? You can specify 1, 2. I'm going to specify 2.
Okay.
4.03, whatever.
So
It doesn't need it, right? So it could be 4.0, it could be 4. It could be 4.00, right? Who cares? But that's what digits are for. This is specifying a number. And that's pretty much it. You have a lot of constraints, as you can see. Oh, seriously, we're going to reload. I clicked on it and it started to reload. It's the same thing as this. You have a lot of them. You can actually specify email if it's not a valid email address, which is a regular expression that starts with letters and numbers up to an at. Forget what the at symbol. Let's call it the at symbol. You all know what I'm talking about. And then letters and numbers again until the .com or .edu or whatever. That's a valid email address. You can specify whatever you like. But I'm gonna have to get a. All right, I can't read this. Sorry, I'm just gonna Google it real quick because I can't read those guys. It's annoying. Nation, spring, hibernate. Yeah, I like Geeks for Geeks better than I like Java at Point. Of course, what is the internet doing right now? Kill me. Yeah, that's what I thought. Pattern. So you can specify a pattern. And then the pattern could be like a regular expression. I'm going to just use a regular expression and I'll talk you through it. So I'm going to do something stupid. And I'll explain. So what I'm going to do is the major, just so I have an example. I'm going to use this. Right? It's going to be cybersecurity, computer science, whatever, right? All right, so this is a not symbol. I'm not going to teach you regular expressions. You guys should be able to look it up, right? This is a not symbol, and this indicates that any letter through A through Z, uppercase and uppercase, or in the letter or number. So this can be any character, but it says not. And you're like, wait, what? So in our case, we don't want that. We don't want a not anyway, right? So this at the $ is at the end. Yes. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I screwed this up. That is the end and that is the beginning. So we can say, oops. No. I'm trying to remember. I'm getting old. CSIT. Let me say cyber. NGA. Right? Parentheses means it's optional. So it can be CS, IT, CY, or DA. This indicates that that is at the end. And so this, excuse me, I just moved it. This is in the end. It has to be at the end, right? And this indicates it has to be at the beginning. So those are what we call anchors. So it's anchored. So in other words, it can only be CS, IT, CY, or DA, right? What if I wanted to say it had to only be numbers? Wait, I can't read that.
Close parentheses on the right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, sorry. Couldn't see it. I need my glasses today. I've never been this far in the woods, I feel like. But if I wanted it to be digits only, and I'm just going to show you the expression because this will be easier. Since it's a string, right? If you guys used it as an integer, I would be fine with that, by the way. If you switched it to an integer, some people did. Some people made the review ID an integer, and I'm happy with that. Then you just do this stuff, yes? But if you didn't, and you need to make it a regular expression, what you want to do is essentially, right? It can be any numbers, but it can't be anything but a number, right? That's all it says. I think you have to do this, but any number, right? And then you just put a length. Oh, I can't remember the length, so we'll have to. I don't care.
What would you do?
I would have left it as an integer, but I screwed up and left it as a string. So now that it's a string, it's easier just to leave it as a string. But it does make it a little harder. But I just showed you the regular expression, so I feel like
Either way,
it's pretty much. Oh, there's pattern, by the way. Now I can see it. There's one more. It's length, and I can't see it.
It's not that.
I think I do. I think I know where it is, but I gotta. All right. So go to the basics. Oh, it's gonna reload. Why is everything reloading? So you want to set, if you have an SID that has to be 5-digit number and it's a string, use the regular expression to force it to only be zeros and ones, not zeros and ones, only to be numbers, and then use a max length and max width to get the length that you need. Yes? Yes, it would be. I'm not sure why it's not. I'm not sure what this is either. Not ideal. But anyway, it does work on a string. It does work on a string for the length of the string. Okay, that's the bottom. That list is actually really good, by the way. That list is actually really, really good. I don't know. I'll have to look this up. Specifications. No, whatever. I'll look up the other ones. The most important ones we already used. And those are the patterns, obviously. And then we have the regular expression and we have the not blank for the strings. 90% of what you'll do is not make sure the strings are not blank. You will never really have to do this unless you need to do this. We did something similar to this for service member records. We had ranks and so forth associated. And so somebody couldn't enter in something stupid, like misspelling the word seaman incorrectly to be funny, right? Let's just say. We don't have issues like that, right? Because we can actually use a series of regular expressions to avoid it. And we just create a list. It's not like it's magic.
So for that, you can have like basically like words you do not want to have in there and words that like only specifically you
So
put in there.
If you want to get super fancy,
Yeah.
you can prevent things from being in there.
Okay.
What is easier, usually because it's a smaller number of things that you do want.
Yeah.
So in other words, sometimes it's easier. So are we familiar with the whitelist and blacklist?
Yeah.
Right. So whitelist is where you identify only the things that you want, and the blacklist we identify only the things we don't like. Right. In this case, the space of whitelist versus blacklist, the whitelist would be so much smaller. It means just so much, right? Somebody could put an asterisk later, right? Like never doubt the lowest form of humanity and the creativity of those assholes, right?
Yeah.
So, yay, and so forth. we were getting photobombed by somebody, I guess, was angry at the bank. And so he emailed all the people in the bank naked pictures of various things. And they were, amazingly disgusting because he was trying to break our filters.
Yeah.
So fortunately, the filters caught almost all of it. So, but anyway, filtering is something you do in security for IT purposes. We don't need to worry about that, but we do need to do some things because this is a programmer's job. This is not somebody's what's called. But I'm not expecting you to learn regular expressions. Unfortunately, you do have to use a couple. Sorry. And so I believe this regular expression is functioning. I don't want to create a name where it's going to be just right where it's going to be numbers because that will be a pain in the ass just to see, right? But there's my validation stuff. And I also looked at employee at the bottom of employee, and you can see there's nothing at the top. I actually thought there was something that goes here. There's not. There's also a size one, which I didn't use. That can also, maybe that's how, I don't know. I'll have to look. So the internet's not really working today. So let's not keep trying to screw around with it, right? Wants to be a dick. So yeah, so this takes a string. You can actually specify the size, min and max. By the way, if you have a min and a max, you can put it in here. But this does not work for the integers, but I don't feel like doing that one. But anyway, not blank, make sure that it's not an empty string. It's also going to make sure it's not null. Sometimes you have duplicates. And what I mean by duplicates is, right, like you have positive and you have min and max. If your min and max are set, do you need positive? No, you're guaranteed you're going to get positive. With not null and not blank, if it's not blank, it can't be null, ever. Right? But if a not null, if it comes in null, it'll be blank as well. So, ta-da! That's why not blank works. You don't get two separate error messages. Now, could you do something where you had a not null and then it comes in null and then it gets that message? You sure could. Most people do not, right? The error is the same. Name can't be blank, right? Oh, I have it here. Size is max is 50. Right? We actually put that in there. So we're going to make the string max 50. You can also specify a min, right? This can sound stupid, but if you need a 5-digit number and you need it to be 5 digits, you specify min equals 5 and max equals 5. Right? It's magic, right? But like I said, you can also include a message in every one of these like this. But if you do so, I'm not going to super enforce this, but if you do so, please make sure you actually make them different. Okay, now this is the validation side, and there's a couple things I'm going to have to bring into the next class to show you, unfortunately. But that is the validation side. That is one part of the equation. That's the easy part of the equation, honestly, is look up the things. And most of them are pretty simple. You have numbers and you have strings. Strings usually are pretty simple. Sometimes you might have a regular expression. That's employee, isn't it? Yeah. Still have employee close open. Well, small. We don't need any of them open. So we generally are pretty simple, right? They're not really hardcore, but this isn't the hard part. This is what we consider the easy part. The validation part is actually, we have to specify it in the controller where we're going to, and a lot of get mappings, where we're going to validate, we have to say add valid. That's it. So for example, I'm just going to copy it so I don't have to screw it up. Anywhere you're going to get a student, say in the post mapping, I'm just going to throw in there valid, and it would validate it. You can do all the annotations you want on the object you want. It will not validate a freaking thing unless that is there. Now let's screw it up. Right? So now that we have some validation stuff, easily enough to do your homework, by the way. Yeah, I know, right? Homework 3. You're gonna get homework 3
Well,
today.
yeah, but that's really all we need to do, like.
You have HTML stuff.
Well, for
I showed you last class, no? Yeah, I did.
Was maybe.
Yeah, the end of last class, I showed you, homework 2 was like the same homework I gave, I just changed the object.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, for homework 3, but like what we just did right now, it's pretty much.
That's for homework 3.
Oh, okay, that's.
Yeah, it's not for homework 2.
No, I knew it wasn't for homework 2, I just was.
No, but that's all you need. No, but the point is that the validation part,
Yeah,
the first 30, 40 points,
that's it.
that's it.
Right.
Oh, you have to copy my exception handler. We'll show you the exception handler in a minute.
Okay.
But it's just copy and paste that and you're done. I'm sorry. It's snow today.
Scanning. Oh, boy.
Yeah, takes a minute. Well, no, it's detecting any changes. What Maven actually does is if it only messes with one source file, it'll only recompile that one source file. So it seems like it's taking longer, but it's actually doing less work. But a project like this has lots of dependencies, and so the scanning takes a little bit longer. Okay, we're there. All right, so go back to our list. And remember, when we do our gets, you do still have all those things we put into the database. We didn't get rid of those, right? They're still there, right? Because now it's a database. This isn't just some array list that we're trying to screw around with. This is let's call it. So we're going to go back to post. Name is wrong. SID is an integer. And we're going to get same thing, right? Because the SID wasn't what's called. But let's send it 56. I can't read that. Cannot read that. It's too small. Validation failed. Blah, blah, blah. You get this really long validation error. Creates a very specialized object because it's not happening in the controller. So it's a validation failure. And somewhere in there, the message must be greater than 0. So why to get? It must be greater than 0.
Because GPA didn't get into it.
Oh yeah, that is actually on the GPA. I can't even see that, by the way. I was trying to avoid that, by the way. But the point I was going to make is you have a bunch of validation errors, not just one. You have a bunch. But this is pretty hard to read. Even harder for a computer to parse. We can simplify it by using a little Java code that I found that makes it easier to read. Easier to parse, easier to understand. And the good news is, it's available to you. So we have to use a field error message to get the fields that are wrong. So it's gonna produce errors for each field, but they're field messages. So you're gonna get several of them if you have multiple fields, right? And then you're gonna have a validation error message. This contains all your field error messages. That's really all it does, right? And then it gets the list and prints the list and stuff like that, right? Okay. Your exception handler finally has something that actually has to do, right? Because previously we just had it catch exceptions. Really don't care if it does a whole lot, but there you go. We're going to handle method argument not valid and handle I think it's handle constraint violation. Yes. It shouldn't ever get this. It should all be this, right? And what it's going to do is it's going to warn we have an exception, man v, method argument not valid exception, right? It's going to create a validation error message. It's going to get the binding result from the exception and create the field error messages from those. Yes, that's it. It's going to identify the field and it's going to identify the message for each error. You're like, wait a second, that's it? I keep asking why it has to be complicated, but you guys are like, what's it called, and I'm actually gonna paste it with the application rather than the object. Because it really goes with that. Yay, now I need to get rid of you. Actually, I don't. You're gonna see that, it's gonna be a little weird. I don't need to get rid of it because it's gonna scan and find both. As long as they're not conflicting, it should be happy. Does that make sense? If they're conflicting, well then all hell breaks loose.
Can you do that with any package or like any class in separate packages if they're named the same?
So the fact that they're named the same doesn't matter. It's scanning the files because it's fully qualified name, like package and name of the class is what it uses to use that as for identity. So they're not the same to the system. But they're both controller advice. And as long as they don't actually have any overlapping methods, which they might right here. Should actually get rid of this. If they have the overlapping methods, they should be fine. If they're not, if they do have overlapping methods, and they do kind of at this point, then there's a problem. But I will say there's no good reason to have two of them, especially when all you're doing is logging error messages, right? So, all right. I stopped it already. That's what I was trying to find, and now I'm gonna run it. I need to bring my glasses. I need to bring my glasses. I made funny off I'm wearing glasses, man.
That's karma.
It's karma, dude.
Well, next time you see me,
It's
I'm not
karma,
gonna have
karma,
my
karma,
glasses.
chameleon, man.
I'm getting contacts this weekend, so no.
Oh, dude.
glasses.
Now y'all can make fun of me.
I just bought my class.
The tables have turned.
So we just bought the kid glasses, and he refuses to fucking wear them.
Oh,
That to me is the worst, dude. Oh yeah, see, here you go. Fail to parse configuration, and it's gonna tell us that something is wonky. Annotation, my exception handler handles, what you call it. So, exception class. And we have exception class, so I need to get rid of you. I don't believe we handle constraint violation or method not argument in the other one, and so it should be happy now. Yeah, but anyway, he refused to wear the glasses.
that's why I was wondering.
He has glasses. He likes his old glasses.
Mm.
So I have to go to the store where we got the old glasses, that the $400 glasses, and get new lenses.
Yeah.
So I was teaching. I was maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago now. Oh no, we failed again. But the PD track. Oh, it doesn't like that they're the same name.
Mm.
Well, that's good. You know what we can do? I didn't think it mattered, but I guess it does. We can go bye-bye. There's really no reason to have two, so I guess maybe, I always thought that wouldn't matter because it's a configuration thing. Or is it that they're named the same? It could have been named the same. So don't know, and I really honestly don't care. You're literally just gonna copy the files in there, right? Like that's all you need to do is copy the files for that part. Yeah, the homework 2, homework 3, first part. If you know what you're doing, it takes like 5 minutes. Not even that.
I mean, just basically what we did is all we need for validation.
Yeah. So you copy homework 2 in, get homework 2 open, get all the imports for the, validation or whatever.
How long
All
is the second part gonna take though?
Doesn't take me long. But anyway, you get an error detail like this. Hey, man.
Hey, is Xerox machine working in our office?
No, it hasn't been working for a while. They're waiting for a pulley.
So where do
You
you
gotta
go?
go to the 6th floor of the dean's office.
6th floor.
Yep. So now you can get a field, message, field, message, field, message, for each one of the fields. So GPA must be greater than 0, name cannot be blank, major cannot be blank. SID must be greater than or equal to 10,000. So let's screw around. Let's go ahead and put major. Oops. We like screwing around, right? Major is basket weaving.
Underwater basket weaving.
Underwater, I like that even better. Major must be one of CSIT, DA, or IT. Yes? Now, here's bad news about validation. I'm going to tell you some bad news, some good news. Good news is validation is actually really simple to do. You just have to have the validation error message because otherwise it's unreadable. Otherwise, it's literally useless. But outside of that, it's actually very easy, but it really should be done. It's very important. The other thing you need to remember is that you can get as fucking fancy as you want to get. You really can. You can get super duper fancy, regular expressions. Has to look like this, has to look right. You can get really fancy. Don't, just keep it simple, right? There's no good excuse, right? To be fancy. Now in your homework, because I made it a string, you can go back and make the integer. If you want, you can go make the review ID an integer. You can. It would take 2 minutes to do an homework. It would. 2 minutes to fix it. Or you can use the regular expression I provided. Either way. I'll make sure you have the list of annotations. But we really used all the ones that you're going to need. So we covered those anyway. And we did the exception, which is pretty cool. What am I thinking? Yeah, I have to do the HTML thing. Oh yeah, I didn't do announcements before class. We have homework 3 is going to come out today. It's going to actually come out today. Homework 2 is due tomorrow. Sounds right.
Yep.
And then October 17th, I will be out. It will be recorded. Now, God willing, last year's reporting works for this year. I'm going to listen to it on the way home today. And I'm going to see. Because I don't really, I'd have to record it over the weekend. I don't really have time. I like have things. It's just the way work works out this week. I just have things constantly. So what other validation things might I want to talk about? Oh, so like we said, if you want to have validation in one place but not another place, you can just not specify the valid. But this is a big homework problem. When you do homework 3, you're going to ask to do the validation for the various fields and so forth. Then you're going to ask to do, like, make sure it's on the controller. Not putting it in the controller is essentially you're not doing validation. You can make the best validation constraints in the whole world. Won't use them at all if you don't specify valid. So I will tell you in the homework where to put valid, but lots of students will, well, not lots of students, but I've taken off, guarantee a homework, I promise you a homework 3, but somebody's gonna forget to put valid in the controller.
So is there ever a scenario where if you put valid in a spot where it doesn't need it, it'll just mess it up or not?
No, when you think about why you use validation primarily to groom, to make sure your inputs are usable, right? When you're creating a new student, as an example, does it make sense to create a student without a name? No. Also, you have a database. The database var that you created is 20, so it has to be less than that. Okay, so sometimes it's database-based validation. So it's rarely a bad thing to have the validation on there. The only thing I would think of if you're trying to send a student and you're okay with partial record is when you're doing a put, which is when you update a thing. If you require SID, but then all the other ones are optional, right? That would work, because if they don't put an SID, it can't find the record because it never lets you. There's no zeros in the database, right? So it can't find the record, so you're good. Right? It's going to say not found. If they put an SID and they find a record, then you can write code that says, if this is not null, change it. If this is not null, change it. And you can, you just have to do that. So there is a use for it, I guess. But I would say with the advent of client-side code and the server-side code, we almost always see like the full object. It rarely ever just said partial object. Like for an update, it's just easier if you have a form, like you're showing the user a form for a student. It has a student ID box, it has a name box, it has a major box. When you click submit, by default, it sends the whole thing. So there's rarely a reason not to send the whole thing. So it's pretty uncommon, but I'm just pointing out that in the grading of this homework,
Just put valid everywhere then.
everywhere it's needed. I mean, that's part of the homework. It even says so on the homework, right? Like, I don't know, not making it up. But you know, we were talking to another professor before class, and I don't want to offend anybody, but 4-ish people did not turn in their homework. That is not good. There's no makeup homeworks, there's no makeup assignments, there's no what's called. So please, for the love of God, if you want to pass this class, turn in your homework. You know what the worst part is? If you haven't done homework 1, you can use my homework 1 to get homework 2 started. Right? Because I post solutions. Same thing with homework 3. Right? These all build on each other. That's why the solution has to come out on time. But if you don't turn in your homework, you will not like your grade in this class. Okay? There's no getting around it. I'm sorry, I have to remind everyone. We're going to get going a little bit early. I promise I'm going to spend a little bit more time on the validation things when I have a good list. Okay? Besides, we actually covered them all. Min, max. We really did cover the important ones. Positive, min, max, digits.
Not null, not blank.
We did, yeah, not blank and not null. We even did the pattern one. Remember, regular expressions are outside the realm of this class, except unless I give you the regular expression. If I give you the regular expression, then you have no excuse not to use it. Right? Like, it's like, I don't know, but whatever. And you can also write value equals, so you can do like this, and then comma, message as well. I didn't do this. SID must be. I can write a 6, yeah. Right. So they don't all have to be different messages, but you get the drift. It always works that way. If you see one without a name like this, you just put value in front of it. But yeah, and it all works this way. And you can actually see the message when we actually run it. That message is actually that. Am I missing anything? Not really. I think there's a couple other ones that I want to talk about that I didn't talk about. But I think we covered them. They are all listed on that. This is them, right? This is them. Email assert true. You can actually, if you have a true or false variable, you can force it to be true or force it to be false, and so forth. So decimal min, decimal max, I don't care. But anyway, you have a bunch of those. You also have future and the past. So when you have dates, they have to be either in the future or in the past. We don't really care about that. We also don't care about list. We don't have a list anywhere being sent in, and so we didn't really mess with the list. Okay, but I think we covered. I want to say we basically covered it all, but I'm gonna verify when I get back to my office, because I can barely see these things. We definitely did the important ones. We definitely did the ones that you need for your homework. The regular expression one, don't use regular expressions unless you really A, know what you're doing, and B, really need to. Most of the time you do that. So for your homework, I think it's a review ID. So you have a review title, a body, a number of stars, right?
Yeah.
So you don't need,
Yeah.
You don't need to get fancy with the stars, right? You don't need to go, make sure it's 0 or 0.5s, right? You can just say a decimal number with 1 decimal point after it. That's fine. Blah, blah, blah. Could you get fancy? Yeah, I can do it. Right? Write a nasty little regular expression. How many of you have taken 318? Anybody?
What's the name of it?
It's Unix System Administration.
No.
They teach regular expressions in that. I teach it in a couple other places too, but not in this class. So I really prefer not to. I probably could have that because I forgot what I was going to talk about. But okay. So the homework's coming out. October 17th is going to be recorded, and that recording will be available hopefully by Friday is what I'm hoping for. But if I have to record it myself and I have to re-record it, then it'll be available just before it goes live, right? Just before you're supposed to. See. Also, I believe I'm caught up with the website. The only problem is I haven't put any announcements up. So I've been keeping up with the announcements for like next week's and stuff like that. But I will try. This has been a really crazy week. We have neuropsych evaluation, which I was telling, what you call it, you guys are both heard me talk about. So I have full day appointments on Monday, Thursday, and I had one yesterday. And then we changed the admission process for graduate students. So instead of it say admitting 10 people, 5 people a semester, I had to review 40 people last week, right? As an example. I'm buried, but I'll catch up, especially before Thanksgiving. Gotta catch up before Thanksgiving. All right, so I have a query. What do you guys think is the worst candy? And no, I'm not gonna like this or that. What do you think is the worst candy?
Black licorice.
Okay.
That's got off.
I'm gonna have to agree with black licorice.
All right. So if I changed it and said, what's the worst candy given at Halloween? Would you still say black licorice?
The worst candy given on Halloween, I've never been given the black licorice.
Those 100 g bars, those are disgusting. I don't know why you would ever
I
give
actually
those.
like those. You suck.
No.
To me, it's a yellow cone candy.
Think about
A candy corn.
Yeah.
I can hate candy
Oh
corn.
yeah, those.
A lot of the
okay.
gummy stuff, I can't, I absolutely just.
I'm not a huge
Like
fan of the gummy
Tots?
thing. No, so one year this guy gave out, and I eat some of my kids' candy, 'cause,
Yeah, of course.
right, daddy's jacks. But anyway, so he got a rat. It was like this big.
Yeah, the
And
gummy.
it was
rat?
gummy.
Oh,
It was-
no.
It looked good. It tasted good,
But why?
but like you can't take a second bite.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty awful to have that much gummy in your mouth.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the yellow corn candy is not my favorite. Black licorice is up there. Necco wafers, if you've ever had one, that's the one my wife said.
Necco wafers?
Necco wafers.
Never heard of those.
Ever had Necco wafers? I believe they're like a violet candy.
It's like a
Violet.
cookie, right? It's a wafer.
It's like a wafer,
What?
like you go to church and you get a wafer. I'm sorry, maybe you don't know that, but
Oh, yeah. We can use it, yeah.
disgusting.
Oh,
Ew.
those.
I've never
It's
seen those, and I don't
disgusting.
ever want to see
They're
those.
awful. They're awful. And there's some there's some violet candy, which violet, what does that mean, right? But violet candy is made with the fruit, with the plant.
Yeah.
This
Oh, those
stuff
are
is
mints,
pretty
right?
fucking awful.
Okay, no, I eat those though.
You
Those are
eat
not-
these.
They're mints, aren't they?
They're candy.
No, they're like mints.
I guess they're like mints to you, but yeah, they were supposed to taste like violet, like the flower.
Yeah.
No, it's like, I don't know, they're kind of chalky, right?
That's not pleasant for most people. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, no, my wife and I were talking about it, and I said, well, it's such an extreme precedence. Because I promise you, I will at some point say, fuck, I hate these. And I'll still be putting them in my mouth. The candy corn, I hate them. Black licorice is up there though. My mom liked black licorice. So get this, we always had candy at the house, but it was always black licorice. She had a jar, and inside the jar, had black licorice.
Yeah.
So if you were truly desperate,
Yeah, if you're really down that.
you could get one, but that was pretty awful. I don't know. I live in Roscoe Village, so